Hey guys, today we're going to make a sausage crusted quiche, and it is a delicious mouthful. The idea came to me while I was working on the book Growing Up Keto, because I'd made different kinds of quiche and tried to come up with different crust, and everything just is soggy or just missed the mark. We actually preferred it crustless. And then I decided, what if we used a meat base? So we're going to start by making our crust with sausage. This is 1 pound of country sausage. So think like Jimmy Dean's Natural or something like that. So you're going to get as least added sugar. You can start with ground pork and use that if you can't find a nice ground sausage or country sausage that you like, breakfast sausage. To this 1 pound of sausage, we're going to add a 1/3 cup of Parmesan cheese. Now this is grated Parm. See the big pieces, and you can chop it a bit more finely if you want. This is not the green can stuff. You don't want that. But Parmesan cheese makes a really nice binder as it melts. Now I'm going to give you 2 options. My recipe originally used 1/3 cup of almond flour, but if you have allergies, nut allergies, then you wouldn't want to use almond flour. You can also use pork rind dust. So not only can you avoid nut allergies, but if you use the pork rind dust, you're actually getting 0 carbs in here. So I'm going to use this to have actually fewer carbs. So you're going to start with that and just mix it all together. And there's no way not to just get your hands in this. You can put it in use a mixer. I like to use my stand mixer if the sausage is really cold. And in the recipe, I'll tell you, let the sausage get to room temperature, because once it's at room temperature, it actually will mix more easily. This does not have to be perfect. Whenever we get it mixed, we're going to press it into this dish. Now you can use a deep dish pie tin. You'll have to cut back on the eggs a bit, but I like making it in this 9x13 because this is the kind of dish that you can make and serve to a crowd. I've taken it to a potluck and it was gone first. People really enjoyed it. And you also can make it, this is the kind of thing I would make like maybe on a Sunday, Saturday or Sunday, bake it and then have it for the week, because you can just cut it into squares and portion it right out and it heats up beautifully. So now that we have it mixed pretty well, we're just going to press it into the 9x13 dish. And it's going to be fairly thin, and that's okay. You don't want holes in it if you can avoid it, but it's going to be somewhat thin, but you're just going to press it out. You do want to go up the sides just a little bit, you do want to go up the sides quite a bit. Remember that the sausage has fat in it and it's going to shrink as it cooks. So the center, the flat part, the bottom part is going to be fairly thin, and you do want to go up the edges because it will shrink down as it cooks. So this takes just a little bit to do, but you'll see it takes a little bit of patience, but you'll see, just press it in and eventually you'll have the entire thing covered. Okay, so I've just about got this evenly in the pan. There are a few areas where I see it's thicker, so I'm just pressing it a bit more. And like I said, you want to press it up the sides. So I'm evening it out, and we're going to fill this. You can fill it with just about any of your favorite quiche flavors, but we're going to fill this with meat. I call this like the barnyard version because we're going to have a little bit of cow, a little bit of pig, a lot of pig, and some chicken in this one. With the eggs. I'm like, where's the chicken coming from? From the eggs. But anyway, you can put what you want. It's great with, you can do broccoli, you can, ham, country ham, any of your favorite flavors. Asparagus I think would be good with this. I mean, what doesn't go with sausage and what doesn't go with eggs? So we got this all patted out. And let me remind you too, the reason we're adding the Parmesan and either the almond flour or the pork rind dust, the reason we're doing that is we want to, because the sausage is going to shrink, we want to have a little bit of filler there, so it keeps it from shrinking quite as badly if it was just all sausage. And you'll see it will shrink when I bring it out of the oven, and I do want this to be just a little bit taller. So I've got the sausage pretty much pressed out. Oops, I made a hole. Don't want a hole in the crust. Okay, so I've got this pressed out pretty evenly all across. There's some areas where it could stand to be a little taller, but I think it's good enough. I'm not taking this off for a potluck or anything like that. So I think it's probably good enough. Like I said, this little area right here is bothering me just a little bit because I can't get it up there quite high enough. Ooh. And it is pretty thin. I think I started in this corner. But anyway, that's probably good. Now what you're going to do is fill it in with the meats. And I'm going to choose to use some ham. This is just chopped ham. And we love this. You can buy it already cubed, and so it's super, super easy to do. And except for really mixing that crust and pressing it out, it really doesn't take a long time to make this. It can be pretty fast, especially if you're using the ham that's already chopped and the bacon that's already cooked. And I was out of already cooked bacon today, so we actually had to use some that we had cooked earlier. So anyway, notice I'm just like distributing it around the bottom of the crust. Get all the goodness. And then I'm going to put some bacon. Now the ham I put all in there. The bacon I'm going to distribute it similarly, but I'm going to save a little bit out at the end to put on top. And I just chop this up with a sharp knife. It's kind of sticking together because it's cold, and we did drain it, but not terribly well, and that's okay. There's nothing wrong with that. And I just chopped it up in a stack, so I probably wasn't as careful as I should have been. I'm going to save that to put on the top, and you'll see why in just a minute. So let me get all of this distributed. Okay. And I do have raw sausage on my hands, but that's okay because all of this is going to cook. I'm not going to pop any of this into my mouth at the moment. Okay, and then for the cheese, the same kind of thing. I'm going to do most of the cheese. This is 2 cups of cheese. So that was 8 ounces of ham, by the way, 8 ounces of chopped ham. It was about a pound of cooked bacon. And this is 2 cups of shredded cheese. So we're going to put that around. And again, I'm going to save a little bit out to put in the top. And if you want to use more cheese, that's perfectly fine with me. The carbs in this are going to be kind of trace carbs from the eggs and from the cheese, and the cream. So speaking of the cream, let's make the quiche part. So what I've learned is that there's kind of a secret to the ratio of eggs to cream. And so I've got 8 eggs in here, and they're just 8 large eggs, and a cup and a half of heavy cream. This is what makes it so soft and makes the texture of a quiche really yummy. Not tough, not hard, just really yummy. Now I'm going to put a little bit of salt in this, and use your judgment about salt. The bacon can be salty, cheese can be salty, sausage might be salty. If your ham is salty, you might want to avoid this. I put just a little bit, and of course you can always add salt at the table, but this bacon is not terribly salty, and we tend to like things salty. So I'm going to add about 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt. But again, that's totally optional depending on your taste. Now you can also put other seasonings. This would be yummy with some onion or other vegetables, but we're keeping it super simple. We're growing up keto. I'm going to put this in here and just give it a nice blend. Just enough to keep it kind of whipped and frothy is perfect. And now I'm going to pour it over this. So 8 eggs, a cup and a half of heavy cream, a little salt if you want it, and pour it over. And you could do that with a whisk. You don't have to use a blender. So if you don't have a blender or access to it, a whisk is perfect. Just get it nice and frothy. Make sure that the eggs are really well beaten. And this is like the perfect amount. If you're going to make this in a round, like a deep dish pie dish for like a traditional quiche look, then you're probably going to need to reduce the eggs and cream. And I can include that in the instructions. That's all there is to it, guys. Just pour this over, and a little of the cheese and bacon are sticking out, but I really like it, especially if you're serving this to others. I really like it when they can kind of see the filling. And so I'm going to take the rest of the bacon, put it on top, and you can actually probably see how frothy those eggs are, which to me is a really good sign. So, and I did just, 30 seconds in the blender. It wasn't a lot at all. That cream is what makes it, all that fat is going to make it super nice and soft when you cut into it. This is one of David's favorites. And he and I haven't talked about other toppings for it, but there are so many possibilities. Like I said, the broccoli and country ham I think would be really nice. The Southwestern quiche from Keto Gatherings that he likes, you could put those fillings in it instead of these. Last of the cheese. And your oven should be preheated to 375. So you're going to put it in there at 375. And you're going to cook this again. If you're using a 9x13 baking dish, you're going to cook it for 45 minutes to an hour. It's going to vary based on your oven. So bake it until it's done. That's what I'm going to tell you to do. Bake it until it's done. But do start, I would put a timer on this, probably start checking it at about 40 minutes, knowing that it will take at least that long. And then it probably will take close to 50 minutes. I'll let you know for sure. I have it in the recipe, but quite honestly, I can't remember off the top of my head too many recipes. So this is going into the oven, and then we'll see you in about an hour. So we're back, and it's out of the oven, and Jonathan's not sure he wants to try this. He's like, what's in it? It's bacon, eggs, cheese, cream, sausage, ham, like all of your favorites.
Still don't want it.
The problem is it's mixed all together, is that right?
Yeah.
It doesn't look so great. Honestly, I made a mistake. I put too much stuff on top, so it got a little overdone on the top. So don't do what I did. You're supposed to put just a sprinkle of the cheese and bacon over top. So I did too much. So and I had to cover it. What I ended up doing was covering it.
Wouldn't it be easier to just make an omelet though?
Well, it would, but look, this is a sausage crusted quiche. So remember when I took this to church and everybody really loved it? Do you remember that? You don't remember? Of course he doesn't, because he didn't have any. Did you love it?
I didn't get any that day.
Oh, really?
Yeah, everybody else ate it. I didn't have a chance.
But he's had it before. I'm sorry that knife is so loud. But yeah, so what you do is you use the sausage to make the crust, and it did pull away from the side a bit. I've got to cut this. But I did end up covering it, and it baked for 55 minutes. And anyway, there's what it looks like in the middle.
Is that ham?
Yeah, it's ham. So sausage, and then you put ham and bacon and cheese.
Seems like a great idea.
You want to try it?
No.
Jonathan's 13. Have I mentioned that? And is that a small serving for you?
It's enough to get started for lunch.
Enough to get started. I was just going to say, so if I was portioning it, I would do that, and I could probably get, for me, 3, 6, 9, 12, 15 servings. For David, probably more like 10 or so servings. You sure you don't want to try a bite?
Yes.
It's our favorite stuff, Jonathan. You like ham.
I respect that it is your favorite, but I doubt it will be mine.
Okay. You just don't like things mixed together, right?
Yeah.
But you've been doing low carb or keto now since August. Didn't you start in August?
I have no clue.
You don't know when you started? Right before your birthday?
Don't ask me.
I'm having a terrible time getting this out. I actually just lost the crust. Let me try that again. Go ahead, David. Go ahead and try it so they won't see me make a mess with the crust.
Why should I remember a turning point in my diet?
It was a big deal, Jonathan.
You know, I'm not a big fan of egg, but this is good.
You're not a big fan of egg, and honestly, that's one of the reasons why I make dishes like this, is I'm trying to kind of hide the egg. He doesn't love egg. So what flavors are you getting?
So what's that, like, brown stuff that's kind of
That's the cheese.
overshadowing it?
That's the cheese that Mom overbaked. So I'm going to give it a bite, and what do you think?
I'm really in the mood to go choo 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 choo. Here comes the choo choo engine.
And there goes Jonathan. So, have you noticed like the crust? Can you tell a difference with the pork rinds versus the almond flour? Because he's had this a few times. Not really.
I hadn't really thought about
it. I might eat it if you made a non-cheese version.
A non-cheese? What? You are not my child. A non-cheese version? Are you kidding me?
The ham flavor.
Just an idea.
The ham flavor.
The ham flavor and the sausage flavor is really pronounced. So
I could make it without the cheese.
Also,
The cream makes the egg really soft, and that's what I like about it.
I don't think you should have combined ham, bacon, and sausage.
What would you have combined?
Sausage and eggs.
Why wouldn't you combine eggs, ham, and sausage? It's all good breakfast stuff.
Yeah, but okay, bacon and sausage together is okay, but combining it with both eggs and ham it makes kind of an overpowering taste.
It is really hearty. It really is very, very hearty. And you could put vegetables in here, but what vegetables do you like, Jonathan?
Stop.
What vegetables do you like? None.
Carrots are a vegetable.
You would eat it if it had carrots in it?
Yes.
Yeah. Anyway, this is in Growing Up Keto. Obviously, the big kids like it in the family. Grace isn't here.
You mean the dinosaurs in the family like
Jonathan is 13 and not a fan, but he does like some of the other recipes in Growing Up Keto. So I hope that if you make this for your family that they'll enjoy it.